Please rise for the Pledge of Allegiance.
Pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Welcome to the Monday, October 16th Board of Aldermen meeting. The first order of business is minutes of the previous meeting. Do I have a motion to approve?
So moved.
Second.
So we have a motion to approve the minutes. It's been seconded. Any corrections or revisions? Seeing none, all those in favor?
Aye.
Any opposed? Motion passes. So we'll move on to the opportunity for members of the public to address the board on matters not on the agenda. First up, we have Barbara Spaulding here to talk about Bellevue Avenue Haunted House. Welcome.
Good evening. So I'm here tonight to invite the community and everyone to the 20th anniversary of the Bellevue Avenue Haunted House. It is a one-night-only event, October 31st from 5:30 to 8:30. It is free to go through the house, but we do accept donations, and those are given to the Mentor Connector to benefit their activity fund. And you can find more information on our website, which is boocrewhauntedhouse.com. And John Woodward is here. He is the executive director of Mentor Connector, and he'd like to say a few words.
Great, thank you all. Being new to Rutland, it is great to come to a community where these kinds of things happen, and 20 years of a haunted house is pretty epic. So that's speaking personally, but speaking from the organization, we're really grateful for Barbie and her husband Gary and this incredible team of volunteers to really put this together. I saw the 5-minute teaser video, and it is epic. So it's going to be great on the 31st. For those of you who don't know, the Mentor Connector is a youth services organization here in Rutland. We're coming up on our 20th year. We have a couple of different programs. One is a transitional living program where we serve runaway homeless youth who are maybe in an unsafe living situation, 16 to 22 years old. But the other is a community-based one-to-one mentoring program. That's the one that Barbie and her mentee, Kamari, have been doing it for 8 years. So they've been together for 8 years. And I have an ask of all of you that if you think just for a quick second right now and think of where you are right now in your life, there's probably someone who helped get you here. And if you can think of one person, you can probably think of 3 or 4 people. And so right now, 1 in 3 youth don't have an adult positive role model in their life. So 1 in 3. So we have about 130 active matches right now. Matches last for about 4+ years. That's 4 times the national average. And we need mentors. So we need adult mentors. There are a lot of youth that are waiting for mentors. And we like to say that for every youth in Rutland County that would like or need a mentor, we want to give them that opportunity. So if you've ever thought about mentoring, please come and see us, check out the website, or if you know someone who you think that person would be a great mentor, please send them our way. We'd be really appreciative. So thank you to Barbie for hosting this, and thank you all for listening.
Thank you. Thank you. Next up, we have Tiffany Saltis from the Downtown Rutland Partnership here to introduce their new staff member.
Hello, everybody. Tiffany Saltis from the Downtown Rutland Partnership. Our mission is to manage, market, and maintain the Special Benefits District of Downtown Rutland, Vermont. And we're very excited. Hallie Asante has joined our team. He's going to be spearheading our events, our business development and initiatives. So we're very excited to have him here. Hallie, should I say something?
Thank you. I am very excited to be here in Rutland. I just moved here a few months ago, and it is such a great community, and I am very excited to partner with Tiffany to support all of the downtown businesses, and we're going to have some very fun events coming down the line.
Absolutely.
Great. Thank you so much.
Welcome.
Welcome. Thank you.
Okay. Thank you all. We'll keep it short and sweet.
Thank you. Are there any other members of the public here who wish to address the board on matters not on the agenda? Kathleen, you can go first, and then you, sir, and then you, Mr.
Hi, I'm Kathleen Kravetsky. You've seen me before. I've stood before you many times. I just want to, as a courtesy, let you know that there's a number of us out collecting signatures to put fluoride on the ballot again come March town meeting day. So if you could put the word out, because We want to make sure that people understand what we're doing, and just it makes it a safer situation. The reason we're offering it to the public again is because the last vote in 2016, there was some misinformation that was shared before the election that I think influenced it. And we're going to correct that this time. And we're talking about the addition of fluorosilicic acid here in Rutland. It is a very bad thing to be putting in our water. And we want people to know that it is a very bad thing, and it is affecting everybody's health, not just our children's brains. There's been many studies since 2016, and we're very committed, Jack and Marilyn and a lot of other people that care very much about the water and making sure that it's pure. And it is very good water. All you need to do is take that out, and then we can proceed forward for food manufacturing. The resources within the city are from the farmers. The farmers are feeding the people, and we have clean food to feed the people. We just need to have clean water for production and manufacturing. So we're hoping we can get it out and use the blue building over there at Vermont Farmers Food Center and go into food manufacturing with the key, there's no fluoride in it, no fluorosilicic acid, and that's why we're going to do it, so we can serve clean food with clean water. Thank you.
Thank you. You, sir, if you'd like to step up to the podium.
Alrighty, so I'll introduce myself. My name's Sean Graham, lifelong resident of Rutland, homeowner on Freeman Avenue, been there I think 26, 27 years. I'm not sure, depending on what the mortgage still says. So the reason I'm here is, I wish it was as positive as some of these other people's stories, but last October, approximately a year ago, while we still had the old administration of Mayoral and the former city attorney, unfortunately, we had a small kitchen fire. Although I was able to get it out by being prepared for it, by the time the firemen arrived, I had the fire out, but smoke damage through the whole house. It was you couldn't inhabit it after that. So that's what happened that day. During that fire, somebody gave my daughter a call, I guess, at the hospital. She works there and goes to school for nursing. We live around the corner, saying that they weren't sure if we all made it out okay. Her mother was being put in the ambulance. So of course she left work, and as she approached Freeman Avenue, there was a fire truck, but one lane was completely open. It was not blocked in either way, and I found out the next day, allegedly, and I'm assuming it's true, that she turned on and there was the uninflated fire hose that they had dragged out, and she turned into the billing office, the closest area. So apparently she didn't see it, didn't know she hit it, if she did hit it, which I'm assuming she did. I found out later after that another car leaving the other way that apparently wasn't seen, but I got a statement, obviously hit it too. So I didn't know anything about this till the next day. The next day, an officer came to my house, trying to find a place in Rutland. Very hard thing to do with all the drugs we have in Rutland and all the crack hotels we got and the free handouts we give. Comfort Inn would not even rent us a room. They found out where we were coming from. And although I explained to them we were cooking chicken and not meth, they wouldn't rent us a room. So we had no place to stay. I spent a few days in the car. Wife spent some at the neighbors. I did get a call though. I asked, why didn't I get a call from the fire chief or whatever? And the cop said, I don't know, I was told to come up here and tell you. I did get a call a couple days later. I don't know if we get off on the right foot, given the situation. I was told that, well, you're gonna be responsible for this fire hose. It's gonna be a couple $1,000s. Again, I expressed that I felt that maybe there was negligence on the part of the city, not maintaining the fire scene. Obviously people come and go either way, if the house blew up, whatever. But I felt that had that have been done, somebody was directing traffic, it was blocked off, obviously you wouldn't have been able to run over it in the first place. So I expressed I wasn't going to pay it, got a little heated, probably some really choice words, and I'm not sure we get off on the best of terms. Fast forward 3 weeks in a camper, finally get a place to rent until the day before Christmas up in Pico. And got another call, congratulations, we got it down to $1,000. After some more interest in discussion and me explaining right from day one, if you want the money, take me to court and sue me. If I'm found liable, we'll have to pay it. I don't believe that's the case. I believe there was inadvertently perfect storm negligence. It wasn't taken care of. I don't feel responsible. So fast forward, I talked to the last mayor, several emails, several calls. They couldn't even figure out who was in charge of deciding who gets to pay for this hose. Is it the fire chief? I got to talk to him. I got to talk to the mayor. I got to talk to the attorney. They're all going to call me back. He loses the election, and I don't hear from any of them for months. So I assume better heads prevailed. We're done. I think I got a bill in November. I don't think I got any over the winter. I think about May, the new administration figured out, hey, we still got this fire hose, and they started sending me bills. Around and around we go again, trying to figure out, are you going to pursue it? Is it worth pursuing? This is the situation. I assumed it was over. And after talking to the attorney and them getting together and back and forth and up and down, the treasurer not knowing, what we found out is I guess they want to pursue it. I'm happy. I shouldn't have to beg to be sued, but if you guys could sue me sooner than later, I'd appreciate that. I mean, that's probably the dumbest thing you've ever heard anybody in Alderman's meeting say is, hey, please sue me. But given the fact that that's my only recourse, and I'm going to continue to get billed, I would ask that that happen. Through, I guess, a suggestion from them, I even tried going to the court and filing a small claims court to sue them, to get them to sue me or something. I'm not able to do it. I have no losses at this point. So as of a week or so ago, I waited to hear back from the attorney. Very nice to get back, and I just want to get a time frame on when this is going to court. And there's a couple other things. During this whole thing, what we found out is a city this size, if you have a dispute with them on a bill with no liability or no judgment of liability, there's obviously a disagreement. We don't have a current policy with everybody in here, from lawyers to mayors to whatever. There's not a policy on how you can dispute it. So I will continue, as of the other day, the email I got is I will continue to receive bills until it's put into collection, which could negatively affect my credit report, which means I'm going to have to sue the city for that when they lose, which they're going to. And they're going to keep charging interest. So how do you get charged interest on something you're not judged to be liable for yet, that you're trying to put in dispute, but we don't even have a dispute? Can't get a letter of dispute. I think it's in dispute. Yeah, we'll get back to you. I think we're going to call it. So basically, it's been a year of runaround, and the email also said that because we're so backed up, if I'm really lucky, we might get to court in 2 years. So that's 3 years from the time of the fire, 2 administrations, 2 sets of lawyers, back and forth over a $1,000 fire hose, which was 2. I appreciate you getting it down there. And so I guess my question is, what would I have to do to get this put through the courts sooner if they really feel this is something they want to go after? How do I get a written letter of dispute excluding all finance charges and or not putting it in collection or anything detrimental until I'm found liable? And that's what I would like, because right now that's not the case. I just sit, wait, get billed, go through the whole process. So maybe someday in a few years I'll get called to court. So I'm here to basically address that we have a gap. There's, it could be any other bill, I guess. And if you're going to sue me, let's put it in dispute and let's get it done. The other thing I find kind of ironic is when I read the paper and they said we have a rash of fire hoses being run over. One guy ran over, and we've had it. I guess it happens fairly often. What does that show a pattern? I mean, do we have like vigilante citizens running over hoses, or maybe the policy or the way we're controlling the scene makes it so hoses are easy to be run over? I mean, I have to think that people, when their house are burned up, say, I think I'm going to run over a hose today. It doesn't make any sense. So with that being said, I'd just like to see if I can get this time frame moved up. I want to have it on a record. I want a written deal saying that you're not going to screw with my credit. I'm not going to get charged finance charges. The last certified letter I waited to get was another bill telling me I owed it, which I already told them I don't owe it. So that's where we're at. But I just find it funny that with all the things going on in the city, and then I read in the paper the other day that we're going down to the State Street Trap House owned by Ruggiero, the dress factory that's blighted and dangerous. How much are we charging him for the fire trucks to go back and forth every few days, and the coroners to pick the bodies up in some of these other places? Or is it just the people that have lived here their whole life who pay taxes who have a house fire? Doesn't leave a very good taste in my mouth. We got bigger problems in Rutland. And I would say bigger problems in bike paths, bigger problems in murals. They're all great. But you got cars being broken into, people being assaulted, people being robbed. And we're still going down to these landlords, I'll be nice, and their blighted properties. And I'm just wondering, how many thousands is he paying? Or is it just this hose for some reason? I don't know if it's personal, but It just seems to be really, really getting annoying. And I don't think it should take 2 to 3 years to figure out what to do. And I don't think you should have to beg to be sued, but here we are. So that was what I wanted to address with you. Hopefully it'll be taken care of. And outside of that, thank you.
Thank you. I'm sorry to hear about the fire.
Well, I appreciate that very much. Thank you.
All right, Mr. Lee, if you want to step up.
Good evening. I came here to speak because I was assaulted by a squatter in August of 2022. I have an injury to my left eye as a result of that attack. I was 74 years old when I was attacked by a young man and this has been completely covered up by the police. Would you accept this if it happened to your brother, your father, your uncle, grandfather, or any other relative or friend? I have submitted information as well as a partial video from that day to each member of this Board of Aldermen. And if I missed anybody, I apologize. I hope all of you took the time to read the information and watch the video, as it clearly exposes the lies of the police department. If any of you are concerned about the corruption in our police department and City Hall and have questions, please feel free to contact me. I attended the Police Commission meeting October 9, 2023, and a couple of you guys were there. And Police Commission Board Chair Sean Sargent still claims their statement to State's Attorney Sullivan is true, in spite of the fact that the video of the attack proves they are being totally dishonest. I'm submitting my statement from that meeting to be submitted into the minutes of tonight's meeting, if that's possible. I would like to read it to you, but it's quite lengthy. That was my 4th meeting seeking information and the truth from that board. Neither is provided. Board chairman claims, as he handed me 2 pieces of paper, that it was the information that was presented to State's Attorney Ian Sullivan a year ago that he supposedly mailed to me. This is a small portion of the contents I received from Ian Sullivan when I met with him in the spring. There were photographs of the attack that were presented to Sean Sargent that never made it to Ian Sullivan, as well as other paperwork. Sean claims there was no intent by the attacker. Why would an attacker smash his cell phone into your eye if there was no intent to injure you? This information is filled with lies. I have exhausted attempts at finding facts and seeking justice from the Police Commission. The lies continue, and I am still not provided with the public information I am seeking. I came to this meeting seeking help. Please don't send me away to continue to be run around in circles, seeking the truth and a process to hold those that choose to lie accountable. I want to know why this is being covered up by the police and the Police Commission when there is substantial proof of the lies they are telling. I have several videos available to expose the lies, and those are ones that you have not seen, but I have recorded. When I meet with people, and our city attorney will tell you, I take a video. Where do I turn? Well, here, I have several videos available that expose the lies. You don't have to take my word for anything. I take videos of my encounters. Where do I turn? Who is interested enough in the future of this city where I was born and raised to stand up and fight this corruption? Rutland is in trouble, and refusing to address the seriousness of this corruption only adds to the demise of this once beautiful city. I pray that God guide you to take the right action to correct these wrongs. I'm requesting that this statement, along with the other information I am providing, be submitted into the minutes of this meeting. Okay, and I thank you for your time.
Thank you very much, Mr. Lee. You want to pass those to
Sure.
Alderman Gillum, and
Thank you.
they'll get over to me eventually. Are there any other members of the public who wish to address the board on matters not on the agenda? Seeing none, we'll move on to communications from the mayor.
Okay, good evening. First thing placed on your desk are some nominations for appointment. There are 2 nominations for Board of Health and 1 for the Rutland Redevelopment Authority, and I requestfully, I submit these to be tabled until the next meeting as practice.
Second.
All right, so we have a motion to table these 3 nominations. It's been seconded. All those in favor? Aye. Any opposed? Motion passes.
That was supposed to be respectfully request, not request.
I understand.
So,
We understand.
on the subject of appointments, so tonight, I was planning on appointing somebody to Police Commission. Sean Sargent has actually stepped down. He'll be moving south to be closer to his family. He will actually still be the chair of the Police Commission for the next meeting, and because of a potential conflict with the person that we were looking at replacing that position with, there's been a slight change. So I'll have a new person to appoint at the next Board of Aldermen meeting for that, as well as 2 others in the pipeline. I have another person for Board of Health. We're just waiting on confirmation there as well, and another planning commissioner, which we're waiting on confirmation for. So that actually leaves a few positions open, and I'd like to just talk about those real quick. We're looking for an additional planning commissioner, 2 more positions to fill on the RRA, and Alderman Gillum brought to my attention tonight the need for 2 solid waste district commissioners as well. So if you have people that are interested in serving in government but don't necessarily want to be on the board or have to run for election, please send them my way. I'd be more than happy to have that discussion with them. Those of you at home, same as well. So please feel free to reach out and contact me, because we're looking for great candidates to fill some of those positions. The last Board of Aldermen meeting, we announced a 1,000 housing unit target in Rutland. It had a very good reception. We've heard from developers. Ed at the RRA, thank you very much, Ed, for fielding many, many phone calls the first few days after that announcement was made. So the RRA is going to take the lead on the primary contact as we continue forward with that, but it's moving in a good direction. As a reminder, there is a Homes for All meeting this the 19th at 2 p.m. at the Hub this week. There's also a walking tour at 3 p.m., and that's the state along with their consultant, us from the city, to go look at infill housing throughout the city of Rutland. Last week I met with Amtrak. They wanted to give us an update. The Rutland line has continued success. We continue to see many people using it, as well as traveling on to Burlington. So one of the fears initially when the line was put in, that we would see the numbers drop in a significant way in Rutland. That has not happened. The numbers have dropped very slightly for people that are continuing on directly to Burlington, but Amtrak looks at those numbers for Rutland City actually continuing to increase overall. So great numbers there, and they're very happy to see that. We talked about the future, what that looks like for Rutland. Good comments. Alderman Barbara Gallo happened to stop in towards the end of the meeting, and we talked about maybe even additional trips to Rutland from, be it Albany or New York City as well. So it'd be nice to see that increase.
Alderman Gillum?
Do we have the numbers coming in from Killington? Who's actually dropping off here? Have we got winter numbers yet?
They told us that we could get some data for that. So they're going to provide us data updates over the next few months as we start to look at that.
That would be very
It's a great
interesting.
question. We asked the same thing. The building assessments for the MERP grant were completed at both the rec and the police department, our 2 biggest energy loss buildings. Those results should be coming to us soon. The rec was a bit of a challenge because that building's got some really unique things. I think today Tyler provided some additional documentation to the survey company, or the company that came in to do the analysis, which is great. So that's moved along quite well. Currently working on budgets here in the city. So our budget is due to you at the end of this month. It is a process, I'll tell you, for my first round from this side. There's a lot. I want to thank Mary. She's been a huge help guiding me through a lot of the information, giving me some information on the gaps that we had, and helping me provide department heads with information they need to make their decisions. So we're doing one-on-one meetings starting this week. We'll go through that. We'll do a couple revisions, and then I'll present it to the board along with a letter of explanation at the end of the month.
So if I may.
Yeah.
With the budget, due to the lack of the HR position, needing to get those workman comp numbers, the insurance, et cetera, that are provided, that we have to work with the leagues, How has that role been?
Yeah, so it's been, it's been a little bit more work, but Mary has done a lot of it, June did a lot, and then I was working directly with the insurance company as well to get those numbers. We did see for next year a slight decrease in health insurance costs, which is interesting, but we don't forget the budget is half 6 months on one bill, half on another, so we're calculating for that, but we did accept some of those savings in the way that we asked the department heads to calculate that. So it has been a challenge, but we've gotten the numbers that we need, which is good. Actually, on that note, my hope is to get the job description posted on Wednesday for the HR director position so that we can get that back out and start interviewing for those positions. Thanks for that good question, by the way. Let me make sure I got that. All right. So last week, I invited Chris Winters, who's the the commissioner for Department of Children and Families, down to come visit Rutland City and take a tour of the hotels and the situation that we're dealing with today. He actually brought along with him Secretary Jenny Samuelson of AHS, so essentially his boss, right, so to speak, but and AHS Field Services Director Carrie Duquette Hoffman. We toured a couple of the Rutland City hotels. We had conversations with some of the residents, looked at the conditions in those hotels, and even talked to some of the hotel owners as well. And then we came back to City Hall to sit down to really have a discussion about what is going to happen over the next year. So what we're about to enter into is the adverse weather program for the general assistance program. So this is where, because the weather is so cold, they open the program up to house even more people. The hotel owners are ready for this. There are vacancies and they're ready to take that on. However, when the program ends in April, there is currently no financial plan and currently no actual step-by-step plan as to what happens when this cohort exits. So if you remember the prior 3 years, these were federal dollars that came to the state, that the state distributed for the general assistance program expansion. This year, it's state dollars. Those state dollars are funding this winter's program primarily in the cohort that we've seen through the summer. But at the end of this program in April, there's currently no funding, no plan for this. So the state is heavy onto what are those next steps. We talked about the transitional housing program here in Rutland. They're very much supportive of that, to the point that Secretary Samuelson said that we're going to all lock ourselves in a room and figure out how to get that done in Rutland, which is great. That we have the support at multiple levels, but there's also other things that the state needs to talk about and do. They're talking about what does temporary shelters look like? Do we have resources in our community to staff those types of things, and what goes hand in hand with that? So there's a lot of discussions still to be had. Did you have a question?
When you're done.
Yep, that's good.
So, with the state, have they met with, like, the Housing Authority, Neighborhood Works, those who are actually charged with providing housing or its status?
So that's the whole lock ourselves in a room conversation. So the group that I'm meeting with, AHS and DCF, they're just in charge of the services side, right? They don't actually manage the housing side. That's VHCB and Vermont Housing Finance Agency. So they have been having conversations with Mary Cohen and Kevin specifically on that side, but because there's so many disconnects, we asked to get something done here in Rutland, and there's so many channels for that money to flow that we all have to get together and figure out what the path is. So that's actually exactly what we're talking about, is having that meeting and just getting everybody on the same page.
We want to ask you a question?
It's up to him.
Sure, you can ask.
Just one question. With the city police already being undermanned, overworked, taxed, with these hotels and the crime that comes with them, and we've seen that. You've got fatalities, drugs, assaults, whatever. They're making a ton of money off this. Are they going to have to step up and provide security with a flashlight, like a sheriff or something? Or are the taxpayers in our already overworked police department, the state's paying for it, are we going to foot the bill to try to keep things under control?
That's actually a great question.
Because if the state's paying for it, maybe they should provide some state aid, or they should provide some money for additional security.
Yep.
So when people go to Hannaford, they can feel like the catalytic converter is going to be there. They're safe going in and out. Because I think that's the biggest thing. You have people that come in from out of town because they find out it's the freebie heaven. And people have imported here just for the benefits. And I also don't see any work requirements for any of these people. Do they have to do community service for the free housing, or is it just another handout and a burden on the city?
So the program that's being run by the state as of today doesn't have requirements for compliance. They don't have reporting requirements. They don't have any type of requirements. That is one of the discussions we actually had. This is a great question. It's one of the discussions we actually had was, what are those requirements going forward? When the legislative session restarts in January, that's one of the items that they actually have on their docket to take up as the discussion, and Eric's looking at me, but as the discussion of those particular requirements and what that'll look like for the remainder of the program and into the future. As far as the policing part, I actually have a section of my report, which I'll get to, and we'll talk about that in just a second. No problem. No, great question. After our hotel visit, we did do that deep discussion, but more discussions are going to be critical because they, again, the state, this is their program, their mandate, these are their pieces to the puzzle, but they are looking to the municipalities, not just Rutland, but the municipalities everywhere, to help them with the recommendations of what their community can support and handle. So those meetings, we made it very clear that we'd like the board to be very involved in that process and that there's good communication there. Let's see. On the subject of hotels, we've had a consistent climb in our police department calls regarding situations specifically at the hotels. So, Sean, thanks for the lead-in. We've received emails and phone calls from surrounding area businesses and residents that are concerned about what's happening on their property, right? So the people are leaving the hotels and wandering onto other properties and causing a few issues here and there. On the business side, and I followed up with a couple of in-person meetings. On the residential side, I've had a few phone calls. And when we had the hotel meeting here on Friday, so once a month I have a meeting with the hotel owners, service providers, and the state. It's the second Friday of every month. And when we had that meeting this Friday, we put a little bit of a request, actually it's more than a little bit, we put a strong request on the hotel owners to look at what their responsibility was in the program. So the hotel owners received the vouchers. There's currently no oversight on who can be in the voucher program, but the hotel owners, according to the state, are the ones that get to choose whether or not people should stay in their hotels. We have asked the hotel owners to specifically look at the bad actors in their hotels and say, do I want this person here? They're causing problems for me and my neighbor. Now, historically, the reason that they've, continued to keep those people in the hotels is because they receive a voucher. They receive a payment for those people. However, with the general assistance program looking to expand for the winter and adverse conditions, there are people that will be in need that are not bad actors that could use that room. So I've asked those hotel owners to take a serious look at how they're essentially taking care and policing their own property. Just like if you were to stay at a hotel and be a resident temporarily on a trip, if you were making noise, they would ask you to quiet down. If you were making a ruckus, they'd ask you to leave, that type of thing. So we asked them to do that. We also asked them to talk directly to the business owners, specifically the two that I interacted with the previous week, but all the business owners around, to have a conversation about what they can do to help those business owners out. They are the ones receiving the payments from the state for the program, so they should have some finances to help those business owners out in turn. I won't get into specifics, but the idea is that they will step up to the plate and have those conversations. And they're going to be following up with them next week. I'm not going to wait a month to make sure those conversations have been had. Let me make sure, see if I missed anything. Yes, so another piece of that puzzle, and based upon the discussions that we had with the Agency of Human Services, Department of Children and Families, these hotel owners, I'd like to actually request that the board refer to charter and ordinance, a discussion regarding potential ordinance for the Rutland City hotels.
So moved.
Second. All right, so we have a motion, and it's been seconded to refer to the Charter and Ordinance Committee, a discussion of the Rutland City hotels, or
An ordinance for the Rutland City
ordinance
hotels.
for the Rutland City hotels. Any discussion or debate? Alderman McCann?
Can you explain a little bit about what that ordinance might be? I mean, that's a very broad topic.
Yes, it is. And keeping it broad so that we can keep the discussion broad, but a couple of the things that have come up in conversation. So typically, the leverage that the city has had in situations to ensure that if you're a homeowner or a business owner, you follow the zoning and the rules that are aligned to your business. We have the Act 250 permit, which we can always bring under review. We have the zoning the zoning rules that go along with that. The state, during the period of time that the program had opened up, had asked for a hold on any of those changes, which is fine. And then recently, as part of S100 and then soon to be thereafter Act 47, made a statement that hotels, no matter where they are, cannot be told by municipalities that they cannot be used for these programs, right? So if you have a hotel in town and the goal of that hotel is for tourism, but the hotel owner wants to be part of the GA program, they can. Totally fine. So that removes some of the tools that we've had before. One of the things that we can do in looking for the policing aspect specifically is not necessarily, because the hotel owners, they wouldn't have any particular reason to pay our police department for extra support. But what we can do is ask those hotel owners for the GA program enrollment that they have, that maybe they pay a permit fee to permit those particular rooms because they require additional security, additional water, wastewater components, right? So typically a hotel room is used 15% of the time, maybe 30% on a high rate. They're using it 100% of the time. So that's extra water, wastewater, and their allocation isn't set up. So there's things that we want to talk about if we're going to continue down that program path that we're going to allocate for appropriately in the city, and that needs to be done through charter and ordinance.
All right, so we have a motion to refer to charter and ordinance. Any additional discussion? Seeing none, all those in favor?
Aye.
Any opposed? Motion passes.
And that's it for me. Thank you very much.
Alderman Gillum?
Question: when you talk to the state, when the state is paying these vouchers, are they paying the meals rooms tax on these rooms?
Nope.
So we're losing out financially, number one. Number two, we're also losing the tourist dollars that would be in those rooms.
Yep.
I just want people at home to know that.
Yep. That's a definite challenge to our local economy.
Sounds like we have a lot to discuss in committee.
Yes, we do.
You have another question?
Alderwoman Davis?
Well, I just say it, not just tourist dollars, but chatter, that people say, oh, we can't come to Rutland or someplace.
That's correct.
So safe place.
That's right. Thank you very much.
Thank you. Moving on to additions and deletions to the agenda, we have a special event permit. I'd like to add that to the agenda and move those to the beginning of the meeting.
So moved. Second.
All right, we have a motion. It's been seconded. Any other changes to the agenda?
Excuse, Mr. Chair.
I can't hear you, sorry.
Chief Lovett's request.
Very good. We'd also like to add Chief Lovett's request. I believe he was going to bring it up under new business, so it doesn't need to be added to the agenda.
Okay,
but
that's fine. That's right.
Sorry, I can't hear very well.
That's all right.
All right, so we have a motion to amend the agenda. It's been seconded. All those in favor?
Aye.
Any opposed? Motion passes. So we'll move on to the special event permit. Let's see here. Is there someone here to speak to the Hollow Rockin' Ween special event for Tuesday, October 31st? Yeah, if you could step up to the podium, that'd be great.
Hello, thank you for having me. My name is Lindsay. I'm the co-founder of One Church, and I'm the founder of One Kids. We inhabit the old Methodist Church building downtown on William Street at the Chestnut Avenue and William Street. So we have proposed a request for a special event. We want to create a fun and safe environment, especially for the youth in our community, specifically the youth downtown. I love what Bellevue does. I love what other places do, but we have seen a pattern in the last few years here where we have a lot of young children who are unsupervised on Halloween night, crossing 7, crossing other major roads. So with that in mind, we have been working for quite a while now to secure both the funding and community partnerships to be able to provide a fun and safe Halloween festive activity for kids. So it is very family friendly, but it's also very much geared toward the youth in our area. I did submit with the proposal a few different things. I have copies if anybody needs them. This is actually an updated map after speaking with you today. We updated it so that we have this fire clearing lane just in the event of an emergency that is highly unlikely. But what we have here is we have 15 houses on Chestnut Street who have agreed to partner with us. Every house is, and homeowner there are excited about the vision for what we want to do. And the overall vision is to be able to blockade this street from Library Avenue all the way down Chestnut and then put another blockade down where William Street is. That way that we create a more fun and safe atmosphere for activities to be going on. Our different community partners will be there with tents handing out candy, stickers, prizes to kids, and we have secured a DJ and a live band for the evening, as well as a few other activities. So with that being said, it's a partnership of Chestnut Street to bring all of our neighbors together to serve our community, and then a place for us to have activities as well. So what kind of questions do you guys have?
Alderman McCann?
Just a comment. So I saw the announcement on Facebook, and it sounds awesome. It's very exciting. Is that your alarm?
That's my alarm again. I'm auto-picked up from dance. Sorry about that.
I'm very excited about this as an activity to open the street to uses other than just driving and providing that space for that community to come together. It's really exciting to see this. I'm hoping that it's successful and that it's something that can continue on into the future. Good job.
Oh, I really appreciate it. Thank you so much. I also, my day job, I work as a special education teacher at Rutland Intermediate. And every day I work with kids and families who just need positive people in their lives, and they need safe places to be. So we're trying to just create an atmosphere that has that for them.
Alderwoman McClure?
Thank you. I just want to say thank you, Lindsay. It's great to see you here. I know we saw each other at what would have been Evolve, but it's good to see you here. And I would like to also, much like Alderman McCann, say thank you. I grew up in the neighborhood that your church is in. I actually grew up in a house directly across the street. And I remember being a young kid, it being Halloween, and there not being that much going on in that neighborhood. So thank you for breathing life into the neighborhood and doing what you do.
Awesome. Thank you so much.
Alderman Gillum?
Just so people know at home that we're closing the street down on Chestnut Avenue, and it's a free event for people to go there, and she also has the neighbors signed on here, so looks like every neighbor along the street on this diagram is involved, so this is a good project.
Alderwoman Tadia?
Motion to suspend the rules?
Second.
All right, so we have a motion to suspend the rules. It's been seconded. Any discussion? Alderman Kubley?
Yeah, just to know from Commander Whitehead, does this present an issue for the police department? It does not. Okay, thank you.
Good. Any further discussion on suspending the rules? Alderman Barbagallo?
I noted in your application that you're encouraging people to walk, but have you spoken with any of the private businesses around that have available parking that people might park, say the old CVPS building or the intermediate school itself?
Well, I'm glad that you did bring that up. It's interesting. I am an employee of the intermediate school, but I cannot get a special permission to host an event and use like the Grove Street campus or the Rutland Intermediate School parking lot. However, there's not going to be anyone there stopping that from happening. So, kind of a loophole.
Write that down.
Yeah. But what we've noticed as we've done events, we've done quite a few block parties over the past couple of years. Most people are on foot. And the people who drive in, there are side streets that they can park on. So there are some opportunities for parking in the neighborhood, but the majority of people that we see coming to events that we've thrown thus far are on foot. So I don't think there's going to be a huge parking issue. If there is, it's a learning opportunity for us to try to figure out how we can fix it in the years to come.
Any further discussion on whether or not to suspend the rules? Seeing none. All those in favor?
Aye.
Any opposed? Motion passes.
And I will move to approve the special event request permit for Hollow Rockin' Ween on Tuesday, October 31st from 4 till 8 p.m. on Chestnut Street. Second.
All right, so we have a motion to approve the special event permit. It's been seconded. Any discussion or debate? Seeing none. All those in favor?
Aye.
Any opposed? Motion passes.
Awesome. Thank you so much. You're all invited. We hope to see you.
All right. Now we'll move on to reports and letters from department heads and officials. First, we have Barbara Spaulding from the Rutland Redevelopment Authority with a recommendation to award a business incentive assistance program forgivable loan. There's a memo and a copy of the application on pages 3 to 6 of your packet.
Good evening. So Drayton is applying for a $10,000 buyout forgivable loan to help in the expansion of Bueno Burrito located at 136 Strongs Avenue. He has owned the restaurant for the past 4 years and has recently had to make repairs due to water damage. The funds will be used to purchase a new refrigerator and stove, as well as create an online ordering website and set up delivery services. Once the business expands into the online ordering and delivery, Drayton will be able to hire additional staff. He is also in negotiations with David Giancola to purchase the building and is working with Nancy Shuttleworth at the Small Business Administration to help in that endeavor. The application meets the criteria for the forgivable loan through new tangible financial investment of $10,000, and Drayton has said he is going to use local sources for equipment purchases and web design. The RRA board met on October 10th and made the recommendation to approve the $10,000 buyout forgivable loan to L&D Foods, DBA Bueno Burrito, contingent that the owner has resolved past due RME tax owed to the city. It's come to my attention from the city treasurer that that tax has been paid. And Drayton is here to answer any questions.
All right, can any board members want to make a motion?
I'll move to suspend the rules.
Second.
All right, so we have a motion to suspend the rules. It's been seconded. Any discussion? All those in favor?
Aye.
Any opposed? Motion passes.
And I'll move for the approval of the $10,000 buyout forgivable loan to L&D Foods, doing business as Bueno Burrito.
Second.
All right, so we have a motion to approve, and it's been seconded. Any questions for Drayton? Seeing none.
Good luck.
All those in favor? Aye. Any opposed? Motion passes. Very good. Thank you.
Thank you for your investment. We appreciate it.
All right, Barbara.
One more.
Don't slip away. You're up again. I'll wait for people to quiet down. A request from the RRA to refer to committee consideration of a charter change regarding RRA board membership. There's a memo and a letter from the RRA board chair on pages 7 to 8 of your packet.
Yes, so the RRA is respectfully requesting that the aldermen refer this letter to charter and ordinance for further discussion.
So moved.
Second.
All right, so we have a motion to refer. It's been seconded. Any discussion? All those in favor?
Aye.
Any opposed? Motion passes. That was
Thank
easy.
you.
Thank you. Next up, we have Recreation Superintendent Peters to introduce the board of the Rutland City Parks Foundation.
Okay, so this is for information only. I'm very excited and proud to announce the reinstatement of the board for the Parks Foundation that was formed in 2018. Primarily David Wallstrom, who was the president, who then moved during COVID, and then COVID happened. And we did try to get this back going around 2022, and now I'm very excited that a board has been created. Myself as a superintendent and Tyler Dolan will be sitting in the meetings as a partnership. But without further ado, I do want to introduce Brian Boudreau, who is going to be the new president. We also have members that he is going to introduce. So, thank you.
Thank you. Welcome, Brian.
Good evening, everybody. Good to see you again. Brian Boudreau, president of the Rutland City Parks Foundation. We're very excited to bring this organization back into action and be a fundraising arm of the Parks and Rec Department. Which, in my opinion, is the best Parks and Rec department in Vermont. They do a wonderful job over there, so we're excited to do that. We've got a few of our board members over here. I don't know if you guys want to say anything, but you can stand up. So we've got a few of them here. Like I said, we're very excited to get going. Does anyone have any questions for us? Sure. Bethany?
Welcome. Any questions for Brian or any other members of the
I just have a question.
Alderwoman Davis?
gung-ho pre-COVID. It was great. Some things got done. Is there an agenda that you have right now as far as what your focus is going to be?
We do. We have a couple projects in the pipeline that we're excited to get working on. Other than that, just kind of reestablishing ourselves as an organization and getting the word out. We are looking for anyone in this room or at home, more board members to kind of get up to full steam. So,
Great.
Yeah.
Thank you.
Seeing nothing further, thank you.
Thank you all.
Thank you.
All right, next is Treasurer Markowski with the Treasurer's Report for September. This was emailed to you.
Thank you. Sorry. So tonight I'm reporting on the financial statements for the financial reports for the first quarter of fiscal year 24. So I'm just going to hit some highlights. Last meeting, I reported 24 million in city cash accounts. That's at 19 million now because we had paid that school education tax and payroll and other expenses that flow through. So if you're watching those reports, that's the difference. I would recommend kind of watching, hey, this is what it was last, what's the difference there, what's happened there. So the delinquent report, as of September 30th, the total year prior taxes due just over $1 million, and water and sewer balance over 90 days of $309,000. That tax delinquency is down just slightly from last year, same time reporting period. But of note, the water and sewer delinquencies are down significantly. Last year reporting at $460,000 and this year at $309,000. So we really have, I wish I had the number, I should have checked, of how many people we have on payment agreements right now through collection, through really focusing on that last year. Related to property tax delinquency, I think I have 15 properties out to tax sale attorneys to be working on those properties. Pooled cash allocation, the pooled cash is the city cash account, but the share of that belongs to the water sewer, the proprietary funds. I've reported on this before. Those proprietary funds are not the cash. We have cash deficit in all of those funds this quarter. I actually spoke with the DPW commissioner today about getting together, like, what's the resolution going to look like for these, because their inflows are not enough to cover the outflows in there. So we'll probably look at this more closely when we get to the budget for those. In those water and sewer funds, we have projects going on. So we're paying out for something and we're waiting for reimbursement, and I don't know if that is entirely what is changing those funds, but something to definitely watch as you're going through the reports. Then I'm going to move to the balance sheet and just note that the unassigned fund balance, now this is where we're looking for, we want to keep that reserve balance, and we're always looking for next year when we're setting that tax rate, are we going to have some resources to offset the property tax. So right now, the unassigned fund balance is $2 million, a little bit less than I had projected, but did want to report that out. Property tax revenue, we record that revenue when we send that bill. So as of the September quarter, 34% of the taxes billed were collected current year. So the non-tax revenue, that non-tax revenue is fees, pilot RME tax. Building and zoning has some new taxes, so we projected just over 3 million in non-tax revenue. Non-tax revenue is so important because we do that tax rate based on the budget that's approved by the voters and the debt service, and then we use that non-tax revenue to say we don't have to raise as much in property tax. So it's really important, that figure, and we're in a good place at 30% of budget here in the first quarter. So expenses are, it's kind of unfair sometimes to look at them quarterly because some things aren't paid on a quarterly basis regular, but we do need to be looking at that. What are we trending? We're a little bit over target for end of September, and at like 27% where we would be looking 25%. I just want to go over quickly. I kind of do a summary for you, and I hope that helps to look at. I mean, we're looking at a $24 million budget. So general government services, about 13% of, it's 13% of your budget. General government services is Treasurer's Department, legal, assessor, executive, those things. That's 13% of your budget. At 24% actual. Most of the departments are meeting that 25%, like right in target for end of the first quarter. So public safety, police and fire, that's 43% of that budget, and that's at 26%. Now remember, we had been carrying in the prior years some, where the police budget, they were leaving some money there, but they're right on target right now. So that's been a source in the past few years of some excess to throw back to the taxpayers. So not sure that we'll see that. Public Works is 21% of the budget, and at 31% of spending if we were. Recreation is 9% of your budget, and budget to actual at 36% right now. And then miscellaneous items, general government, library, debt, and pension is another 15% of the budget, with a 19% budget to actual right now. So, proprietary funds, the water fund revenue is at 25% of budget, right, with 1 quarter billed. So that is really in line. Expenses are a little bit high at 30%. Over the expectation there. The sewer fund revenue is a little bit lower at 24%, but expenses were at 22%. So parking fund revenue is very low, 19% of budget for the first quarter, and expenses at 30%. So and remember that parking fund, I'm just going to say it every time, we're like budgeting a shortfall of 21,000. I'm not sure how we're going to get out of this if we continue to budget in that way for the parking fund.
Can I ask a question?
Yes.
So do we still have a salary coming out of there, even though we're not providing the officer currently?
We do, but I plan to prepare a recommendation for a transfer to move those expenses to the general fund budget, because if we're not there, right, it's not the appropriate place to be charging it. So.
I agree.
Yep. So the transit fund, we like to look at it with 2 months in. This is a good time to look at it because right now revenues exceed expenses by $10,000. So I don't know where we'll be, but the RRA at the end of September has cash balance of $156,000. There are funds in the RRA, $8,000 assigned to the VTrans grant, which is I call it Amtrak, but that's the project over there. $19,000 for business development, $26,000 for administrative reserve. So that's the quarterly report. Anyone have specific questions?
I just have one.
Alderwoman Davis and then
So,
Alderman
Eric, you
McCann.
talked to us about the 1%. You said we'll get our first cut around the 1st of November? Is that
Yeah,
correct?
I'm thinking that first week in November,
So then we'll have an idea, and we're going to see it quarterly?
quarterly,
Okay.
yep. So the September quarter ends, sales tax returns are due on by the 26th of October, so we will see that. That's why you see a little bit of a delay there, but that's going to be interesting when we have it all email and let you all know what.
Ka-ching is.
Yeah. So we did have a pension meeting this past week, and I thank everyone who was able to make it to that. And I will report on that separately the next meeting. I didn't have time to have it ready. But I would ask to refer this report, because it's quarterly, to the Finance Committee, so it's in committee if we want to look at it when we're at a finance meeting. If you have questions specifically before we go into budget. For a lot of people, it's first time through, so we're always comparing, hey, what did we do last year? But then look at what we budgeted in '24. There's so much, to consider when you're preparing that budget for the taxpayers.
I'll move to
Alderman
refer.
McCann?
I'm sorry.
Oh, yeah, so you asked part of my question about the local option sales tax, and I was also wondering on top of that, has there been any other clarifications since it started about sort of the differentiation between the zip codes and us versus Rutland Town, or any of that, or are we still kind of waiting to see what we get?
We're kind of waiting to see. I've emailed the representative at the state to see. I know that we had expressed concerns early on that this was something that we shared a zip code with Rutland Town Mendon, and so it's really at the state level of how that's going to be split up. So we'll see with that first receipt.
Alderman Gillum?
Move the report into Finance Committee.
Second.
All right, so we have a motion to refer the treasurer's report to the Finance Committee. It's been seconded. Any discussion? Seeing none, all those in favor? Aye. Any opposed? Motion passes.
Okay, thank you.
Thank you very much.
Thank you, Mary.
Next up, we have City Clerk Kapusta with a request related to social service agencies on the town meeting day ballot. There's a memo on pages 12 to 13 of your packet.
So I am requesting that the board approve to require all agencies that are currently on the city ballot seeking taxpayer money to every 5 years require those agencies to obtain 5% of the voter signatures on a petition to be placed on the ballot. There are currently 14 agencies on the ballot who ask for money annually. The total amount requested is a little over $347,000. I checked with the Vermont Secretary of State's office and was told that many towns do require social service agencies to go back out to the voters every 5 years. I've spoke to some towns that do it every 3 years to repetition the voters for funding. And in Rutland City, that practice has not been required. The only time it's been required is if an agency wanted to change the current amount that was on the ballot. They would have to go back out and get 5% of the voters. The other piece of this process that I have learned is that not all of the agencies have been providing us on an annual basis their financial report explaining to us what the funds that they're getting are being used for, and if they're seeking funds from other communities and who they are. So I selected 7 of the agencies that I feel would be appropriate to ask to go back out to the voters to be placed on the March 5th, 2024 ballot. The ones that I had picked, I apologize, I didn't add them on here, but are ones that have been on the ballot since 2006.
All right, Alderwoman Davis?
So I did send the clerk an email because I still don't know what the catalyst is unless we're just trying to do what other towns do. And I don't support this option because I think it's a hardship to go out and get signatures every 5 years. If we were getting 30, but we're getting over 600 or more. I do agree with the fact that we should provide the taxpayers with how that first I'm going to say I work for VNA in hospice. My apologies for not saying that. I receive no benefits other than the sweat equity that I give them. So anyways, with that said, I do believe that a statement should be filed. In this case, Brock spends $10,000. How is that $10,000 spent? I will say, going back, it was part of the annual report. It was, you would look at an annual report and you would see VNA, you would see any Vermont Centers for Independent Living, whoever was on the ballot at that time, during that time frame, submitted a report. It was in the annual report, and then taxpayers could read and see what was provided. That was stopped, I believe, under Mayor Lohr's because of cost, because it added to the number of pages to the annual report, and so it was slimmed down. So I did call a couple of the not-for-profits and say, has the city reached out and said to you, I need information? And the answer was no. And they said they'd be glad to send that information. There'd be no reason not to. I feel that as I have sat here, I have asked these questions. When someone has come in with a petition, I have said, what percent of our budget, the budget are we? Do you seek services from other towns? And if you do, are you on their ballot? What are the services that you provide, and how will that money help this organization? Those questions get asked. I think in these times, this city is facing a lot of issues with homelessness, with criminalizations. We've had COVID scares. You look at this list, and I'm cheap, I'll tell you that. I'm cheap. I don't like a lot of money on the tax rate. It adds a lot of money on the tax rate. And when people call me and say, why are my taxes so high? We do go through this. And I tell them this is 3 cents on your tax rate. Choose wisely. I don't vote for 100% of them, but I vote for a lot of them that I interact with or I feel that are so beneficial to this community. But to make them go out every 5 years because some other towns do it, I think is wrong. I gladly have this discussion in finance, but it's going to be a long meeting because I'm going to vote every not-for-profit to come in here and have their say prior to making any changes. I feel that we have a good system in place. If you seek petition to go on the ballot and you fail, you have to go back out and get signatures again. If you change the dollar amount that you're seeking, you have to go back out and get signatures again. We all live here, we vote. We see these numbers. These organizations pass 2 to 1, 3 to 1, 4 to 1, because people see the benefit of them. Why are we asking them to go back out every 5 years? I cannot and will not support that.
Very good. Alderwoman McClure?
I pass on my statement.
All right. Anyone else? Alderman McCann?
Yeah, I think what Alderwoman Davis was just saying is probably right. If the voters are getting to choose each year whether they would like to support this, and we're seeing a number that essentially represents the percentage that we'd be asking them to get in a petition, then the voters are basically saying, yes, I support this. So to add that extra step, if it's essentially happening when they actually go out on town meeting day, might seem unnecessary. So maybe there's a sort of in-between that if on a town meeting day they either don't meet that specific number of voters supporting it, or if it doesn't pass, then they would have to go out for a petition.
They would have to, absolutely.
And if there's an interest in having the reports, maybe the carrot or stick, however you want to see it, is if the report isn't in time, then they need to get the petition to be on the next year, just as a way to say, you've got to get reporting in if that's what we want to see. But if they get the report in and it passes, then they can kind of basically do what they've been doing to stay on. Would be right.
Alderman Gillen?
I do agree with Alderman Davis, but I think I'm going to suggest that since we have a great website, a superb website, we should ask the agencies to do their reporting and ask those questions, what they're spending their money on and how it fits in and how the other towns do that, and put that into the website and then advertise it that these people can go and check that information out at their leisure on our website. And we should demand that those reports do come in before town meeting day.
I agree.
Or 30 days before town meeting day, it's posted on the website.
So, Mr. Chairman, I'll move to receive and place on file.
Okay. is there any will to refer discussion of what we do if an agency doesn't file the report? Or do we just
I
want
would
to leave
make a
that
motion
hanging?
to refer that to Finance Committee.
So what's in finance, just so I'm understanding, will be if an agency does not file a report.
Right,
Okay.
right.
And determining the timely manner of which that report to be set.
Yep.
Okay. I'll second that motion.
All
I
right.
think we're looking for is a policy.
Yep, because we don't have one now, that would be good. Any additional discussion on that referral? Alderman McCann?
Would we also want to include when we would ask for an organization to go back out for signatures, or do you want?
I think it's already there that if they fail, they have to go. If
Okay.
they change the dollar amount, they have to go.
For the next
Gotcha, thank you.
That's already in place. I think this will be, we'll just have to come up with a date post-election. When do you want that report
Right,
filed with the
right.
city?
Very good. Alderwoman McClure?
I agree. I think that that setting this and sending this to committee in this way will encourage accountability from organizations as well to help put the fire under people to make sure they're turning things in prior to town meeting day.
All right, we have a motion to refer. It's been seconded. All those in favor?
Aye.
Any opposed? Motion passes. Very good. All right. Next up, we have reports of standing committees. We have none. Reports of representatives. We have none. Reports of select committees. We have none. Petitions, letters, miscellaneous communications. We have nothing further. Board of Control Commissioners. We have nothing on the agenda. Board of Cannabis Commissioners. We have nothing on the agenda. That brings us to unfinished business. Any unfinished business? All right, miscellaneous motions, resolution, and new business. We have Alderman Barbagallo.
Basically, I've got a statement here. You've got it in your packet. I'm just going to read it so that it's out there to the public. On May 17th of this year, we had a parking committee meeting where we forwarded to the full board new parking rates and fines to be put into place when new equipment is installed. The board approved the rate changes. After shopping in downtown this week, it is apparent to me that new equipment is sorely needed. I had to go to all 4 kiosks on Center Street before I could find one that would work. I would like to have another committee meeting to have the Department of Public Works come and discuss what is needed to get multiple bids on new equipment, what they feel would be the best application for meters and kiosks, and what sort of timetable we would be looking at. Hopefully, we can come up with a plan before we get too far into the budget process. I also spoke to the mayor this week, and we would also like to discuss what the city of Rutland would do with the parking deck if the state were to sell it back to us after repairs are made to it. I'm asking that these items be referred to the parking committee, and I so move.
Second.
All right, so we have a motion to refer these items to parking committee. They've been seconded. Any discussion? Alderwoman McClure.
I would just like to emphasize the importance on multiple bids on this as well. I believe the discussion had in the parking committee prior, the bids we were entertaining were those from the company that has installed the current existing meters. I have noticed from multiple people throughout the community that many have expressed displeasure with these meters from the date of their inception to current. I strongly agree with Alderman Barbagallo when I say that we should entertain multiple bids on these meters instead of contacting the same people who installed the ones we're unhappy with to come and install new ones. I can speak to Alderman Barbagallo's plight here as well. There have been many times in the past few weeks where I have been getting coffee at Speakeasy Cafe or a sandwich at the bakery, and I have come across elderly members of the community, not pigeonholing you or anything, Joe, but more experienced members of the community who find themselves struggling with the parking meters, both the coin-operated meters and the terminals, and it's not fair, and it's, in my opinion, borderline ageist at this point. It is unfair to expect members of the community who are unfamiliar with the problem-solving tools for technology many of us have now to have to deal with that. So I would very much like to say I support this, and I second Alderman Barbagallo's motion.
Very good. Alderwoman Davis?
I just wanted to say to old Joe, I
wasn't trying to pigeonhole anybody here, so if anyone takes offense, I'll gladly take questions
I
after.
appreciate that you went to 4 different kiosks, because I wouldn't have done that.
Well, I don't want to get a ticket. It's simple as that, you know, I don't.
There's nobody downtown doing it.
I'd have to pay it too. But it's just, the equipment is in sore need of repair, and we need to do something.
Absolutely.
And now, let's do it now so that we can do it before we finish the budget process. So if we have to put money aside, we can do that. Whether it comes out of the parking fund or it has to come out of the general fund.
Plus, we're losing
We
revenue.
need to do it, we can't do it mid-budget.
So we're losing revenue.
All right. so
I agree.
We have a motion to refer this to the parking committee. It's been seconded. Any additional discussion? All those in favor?
Aye.
Any opposed? Motion passes. Next, we have Chief Lovett. He sent a memo, and I forwarded it to all of you earlier today. Chief?
Yes. I'm here tonight to ask you to take 3 initiatives and put them in charter and ordinance. First one is a fire alarm box ordinance. Some modifications that I was seeking to have to basically speed our response. The second one would be to update and take a look at our burdening ordinance. There's been some new technology that's been introduced out there that I think, in all fairness, we need to kind of take a look at and see if it fits with our community. And the third one is to assist the city attorney. We were looking at some of the ordinances, and one that kind of piqued my interest, being part of the old ARF team, was the fact that the city still refers to the Rutland Airport in the ordinances as the Rutland Municipal Airport. I believe we gave it to the state of Vermont somewhere in 1952 or 3. So some of those things maybe we can clear up if we can get it into committee.
So moved.
Second.
All right, very good. We have a motion to refer these items to charter and ordinance. It's been seconded. Any discussion? All those in favor?
Aye.
Any opposed? Motion passes. Thank you, Chief.
Thank you, Chief.
Chief. Alderwoman McClure?
Yes, I would like to refer to, I'm not exactly sure which committee I would refer this to, so consensus of the group here. During my daily walks through downtown Rutland, I have noticed vandalism more and more in the form of stickers on public property. And after a couple calls with the Downtown Rutland Partnership, we realized it's a bit of a gray area on who exactly is in charge of removing stickers that are vandalism, say on business signs or on the wayfinding signs. I've taken some time myself with a scraper to peel some off, but I don't think I'm the person who should be doing it. I'm concerned I'm going to break something. So I would like to refer to the appropriate committee if the group can help me determine what that is. Questions, perhaps a policy regarding vandalism maintenance and who performs that in downtown. As I am aware, the rec department has taken on the streetscaping of downtown. And as far as I'm aware, it has been in previous years, DPW has handled offensive graffiti when on city property or just in the general downtown. I'm unsure if this would go to rec or if this would go to DPW to discuss who would be managing that.
It seems like the mayor maybe wants to answer some questions that you might have about that, or the question about that.
I'm not going to be the guy that doesn't use the mic for the TV. So it's a good question. There's probably 3 pieces, right? Is it on public property? Is it on private property? And then is it on state property? That's what we're dealing with in downtown, right? There's 3 things. If it's on our property, we can take care of it, and whether that's DPW or rec, it's probably going to be rec first and foremost, and that works out great. And report of concern is a good tool for that. And I think actually in the past you've used that, and others have too, and that's worked out well. We've been able to remove it. The rest of the discussion. Would be to figure out maybe who to delegate that to for those business owners. We're always, in those situations, I think we're always happy to help. Our rec team is down there in the mornings anyways, and if there's something a business owner wants removed that they can't get off, we could probably assist, but that's not for us to decide for those private business owners, I don't think.
Alderwoman Davis?
So I understand they're on a street sign, like a stop sign, or a caution sign.
There's been
or-
some that have been on stop signs, some that have been on fuel intake valves for certain buildings, some that have been on telephone poles, some that have been on the power boxes on telephone poles, some that have been physically on a business, but that one was relatively easy to peel off.
Yeah.
Judging by the content of what was there and knowing the business owner personally, I took the liberty of removing it, as I was well aware that it would not align with their values. But yeah, it's a mixture of both private and city property. And then that furthers my question are the wayfinding signs owned by the city or are they owned by the Downtown Rutland Partnership? And if one is applied there, I've tried to peel those off. You need Goo Gone and a scraper. So who would be maintaining?
Regardless of ownership, I think they were paid for through a grant originally through Downtown Partnership. We can certainly help take those off, and that's a simple.
The only reason I ask is most sign issues are DPW.
Is DPW, that's right. So that would be Tom Franzoni, he's our sign guy, and he can take care of that. The best way to handle this, in all honesty, regardless of where it's placed, is to submit a report of concern through the app or through the website, which is now working, Mr. Adams, with the look. But to submit a report of concern, and then we will delegate it. And if we have to delegate it out beyond the city, we can send those emails directly to those that need to get it.
Thank you.
You're welcome.
Does that answer your question?
That does answer my question, and I do not feel any more necessary to refer to a committee.
Great. Any additional new business? Alderman McCann.
So in hearing the public comment earlier regarding the case with the fire hose, not getting into the specifics of that one and what should or shouldn't be happening, but it did sound like there was maybe a need for us to clean up maybe the ability for someone to appeal a bill or something like that, or maybe have some clarity over where it goes, because it sounds like it was kind of punted back and forth, maybe under the last administration, maybe under this one as well. So that's something that I would refer to a committee. Similarly, I'm not sure what the best committee would be. If anybody has a suggestion, I'd be happy to take that.
Well, we have a committee for where to refer things when we don't know where else to refer them.
Is that the general committee?
I guess.
Sure. Alderwoman Davis.
I'll second for debate. And the reason I think this particular issue has a lot more to it than what you heard this evening. Now, I don't know if any of you received phone calls from this gentleman. Okay, so anyways, I'll leave it at that. So I think I would defer to the city attorney, because I'm not sure that we establish those type of policies. We are policymakers, but I'm not sure that's within our realm of power, so to speak. So I think I would prefer, before we get into it in general committee, that Megan has a chance to speak to it.
And if I may, so generally those are interdepartmental policies about how exactly something would be handled. In this particular case, if it was just an issue of the amount on the bill, certainly that could be handled internally. He wants to debate liability, which has to be handled through a judicial process. Okay. So that's not even something we can handle internally here.
Alderwoman Tadia?
But it sounded like what he was saying is that we don't have a policy when there's contested funds or a contested bill. Like if somebody is disputing that they're going to be charged by the city, like do we have a policy in place for that?
As far as I know, and I've been made aware, there is not a specific policy, but multiple departments were contacted and had conversations with this individual, and certainly those are conversations we're willing to have with anyone who calls and has an issue with their bill. But in terms of a specific policy, I'm not aware of one, and I see the mayor raising his hand, so maybe there is one that I'm...
So in terms of, and the city attorney can correct me if I'm wrong here, in terms of the responsibility, there is a policy that I believe we have that says if you run over a fire hose, you're financially responsible for it. So that's the policy that we're going with. And then the process, I think if there's maybe maybe you're asking a different question is, well, once that's disputed, or what's that dispute process look like? What's the process there? Through the conversations that we've had already, both with Mr. Sargent and, not sorry, I'm trying to remember his name.
Mr. Graham.
Thanks. And Mr. Graham, sorry. Two Sean's, different last names. But with Mr. Graham, we found that they did run over the fire hose. We're sticking to the policy, and that amount is being charged based on what the fire department has on the docket for those costs of those hoses. So from there, we bill until the bill is past due, and that's how that works at the moment. I don't know if that should be changed or what, but I think that's how we address most of those in the city today.
Well, so separate than this man and his situation, though, more of like a preventative for the future. I feel like when there is a situation, fire hose or not, but a contested bill with the city, like we should probably have a policy somewhere in place and visible on our website so that it's clearly stated, because it is tricky when there's potential litigation, and then, we can't then be incommunicado with the public if there's possible litigation. So it just puts us in a hard place when trying to respond to constituent needs if there's no policy. So possibly could go to general or charter.
All right.
I will take it if it's helpful.
Just, we could, before you, again, one more thing, before you send it to general, that is something that we could handle internally, so if that's something that the board wants us to take a look at before you send it to general, that's something that we can probably work on and just present at a later time for informational update. Does that work?
Great. So why don't you give us an update in the future, and if the board feels there's need to refer it at that time, we can.
Sounds great.
Works for me. Thank you.
Thank you.
You're welcome.
Any additional new business, miscellaneous motions or resolutions? Seeing none?
I'll move to adjourn.
Second.
All in favor of adjourning?
Aye.
Any opposed? Motion passes.